The FBI got in on, tapped Donna and Charlie's phones. Those nuts talked very openly about what they were going to do. And they had those tapes. Then Charlie would meet with his dad, and I don't know, I think it was Catherine. He met with them, and the FBI was nearby, and they had listening devices, so they picked up those tapes. You know, people think you can go to somewhere like a restaurant or whatever, but you can't. You can't. Okay, I think somebody was kind of buzzing around a little bit, and so not Wendy, but Donna and Charlie were trying to be a little bit more careful, and so they started using some code words, but they weren't good code words, and it was easy to figure out. All right, now the FBI found financial links between Catherine, Luis, and Sigfredo. And so that was a piece that they were going to use as evidence. When Sigfredo and Luis, I think, followed Dan, they went there one day. They got the time down as to what he was doing, you know, when he was going to be home, what the deal was of his itinerary. And then they came back the next day. They watched him, and they've got video because, you know, there's cameras everywhere. So they watched him drop his kids off at school. Then he went to the gym. They stayed out there and they watched him at the gym. And then they followed him home. He was on the phone with a teacher, I think. I don't remember what it was about. It was just, you know, that's not the important part. He was on the phone. He pulls into his driveway and he tells the guy on the phone, somebody's in my driveway. Somebody I don't know is in my driveway or something to that effect. And then the guy on the phone hears a thud. They think that was when he fell. But Sigfredo got out and shot him in the head and killed him. The guy on the phone kept yelling for him. And finally, he looked up his address and he called the police. And the police came. But at the same time, the neighbor saw this Prius, and he said he'd never seen that Prius before, but he got the color and everything. So he had that piece of information. But he said he saw them come up, and he said something told him to go over there. And so he discovered Dan's body, called the police. So you have those two links, the guy on the phone and you have the neighbor, who it was great that he spotted him because it was easy to start looking for that silver Prius. Using cameras, they found it. Okay. So now you've got the actual murder, who did it. There's financial links because the mom worked as the office manager at the Adelson Institute, which is the dentist office. Okay, so one of the ways that they were able to financially connect the money trail was, especially between Charlie and Catherine Magbanua. Donna Adelson, manager of the dentist office, started writing checks to Catherine Magbanua in around September 17th of 2014, and this is just 2 months after Dan Markell died. She started writing checks on a bi-monthly basis through May of 2016. So what is that? Let's maybe year and a half or so, I guess. But the checks were made out um, to her at $815.16 per month. Two checks for 407.58. So it added up to okay, for 20 months, added up to just under $18,000. So that is where the FBI said, what is she getting paid for? She doesn't work there. So, they were able to link that and say that's part of her commission for the hit. They did the surveillance trail of the Prius. They figured out that it was a rental car. And then they started following their cell phone sites. You know how they pin the GPS and all that stuff. And they found that. They found bank records. They found communications between the co-conspirators, which was Donna and Charlie. So they had all that evidence. And then I told you about the actual killing. All right. Cell phone and travel records were what they used. The money flow, and this is where it says alleged $100,000 was the total hit payment. I don't know if it was split up. I don't know what that was. Let's talk about the FBI and how they got involved in this case in the first place. So Dan Markle was murdered in July of 2014. As the Tallahassee Police Department was investigating, they brought in the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Now, let me make sure. Yes, Department of Law Enforcement. And they started connecting the dots, which they realized real quick that this was a plot, like a murder for hire. When you get that sort of thing, the FBI has a lot more resources, and they're almost always brought into the case. So that's when they came in, and that's when they started initiating wiretaps and all of those things. They really, like I said, they have more resources and they could get involved in it. So, and that it was discovered it was a murder for hire, and the FBI was brought in sort of like around 2015. Okay. Now, there's something called a bump, and I'm early 2016. The FBI sets up those wiretaps, and they find out real quick who they suspect is bankrolling it, and it's Charlie, Wendy's brother, the Adelson's middle child, and Dan Markle's brother-in-law. Okay, so they set up this thing they call a bump operation, which is they needed some more juicy stuff on the phone calls. So they devised this plan where an undercover agent acted the part of a gang member, bumped in to Donna Adelson on the street, and started talking to her. And of course, she was confused and a little bit startled in the beginning, but apparently she got intrigued because this guy said that pretty much he knew what had happened, and for some money, they would stay quiet. And he handed her a piece of paper with a phone number on it and said, we're waiting to get a phone call from you. And then he left it alone. So what happened was exactly what the FBI was hoping. She went back and she started making calls to Charlie Adelson. So now they knew they had her. So they had to get more incriminating evidence, and that evidence was going to come in the form of those phone calls. This is when a recorded call between Magbanua and Charlie. It was recorded. There was a problem. He said, "Who is this? I know you know this person, blah, blah, blah." And she didn't. And she didn't know the person because he was FBI. So she had no idea, but she felt like somebody was in the know and pushing them. So that was conversations back and forth. And then Donna was getting very antsy about it. And so she started getting freaked out a little bit. And then you've got phone calls between her and Charlie. And those phone calls were amazing. In 2016, Luis Rivera flips on everybody, and he pleads guilty, and he gets 19 years because he is the insider witness and turned on everybody else. Then 2019, he testified against Magbanua and Garcia Sigfrido, and they were co-defendants, and there was a split verdict. Now, I know that Sigfrido got life. Make sure of that. Yes, life for first-degree murder. Catherine Magbanua, for her crimes in that trial with Sigfrido, they could not come to a unanimous decision, so hers would have to go to retrial. And in that retrial, they found her guilty of life plus 60 years, and those 60 years had to be consecutive. She's never going to see the light of day. She'll never see it. And she ended up testifying against Donna in her trial because she said that even though nobody had given her anything, she was hoping that it's somewhere down the line that it would help her potentially seeing her children, or I don't know that it's going to be getting her children because she's never going to get out of prison. And I don't know if it's a situation where, because she's going to be gone so long, that she hopes that her children doesn't forget her and still wants to see her at some point in time. I'm not exactly sure what that case is. But needless to say, that is why she said that she was testifying. Now, one thing she did say in the testimony that I thought was really interesting, or that she said as an answer to the prosecutor's question, the prosecutor said, "You were offered a plea deal in this, right?" And Catherine said, "Yes." Rude. Sit down. Please tell me there's nobody, because I'm videoing.
No, there's nobody.
Okay. Forgot where I left off. Let me see. The prosecutor asked her, the prosecutor asked her, was she given a plea deal for her testimony in the very beginning? Now, remember, Catherine and her baby daddy, Sigfrido, I think, were co-defendants. Remember, he was found guilty. She had to have a retrial, and then she was found guilty. Both ended up with life plus. But the thing is that she was offered a deal before she went to the first trial to testify against him, and she wouldn't do it. And here's the reason she gave on the stand. That was my children's father, and I knew that if I turned on him, that he would definitely go to jail for the rest of his life. I couldn't do that. So I guess she decided that it was better to take a chance than, or maybe getting less time, but to take a chance rather than to just send him straight to prison for the rest of his life. Is there some kind of honor in that? No, I can't give any of them honor. Can you? No, they weren't honorable people. So, anyway, there's that. Those two were convicted. So the next person that they went after was Charlie. Ooh, he had a lot of stuff on him. So, and he testified for himself, and he did no help to himself. Okay, so let's go to Charlie. He was charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation. And their theory, the state's theory, was that he was the architect slash funder, with Magbanua executing logistics. She was the go-between to hire Garcia, who then hired Rivera, and to get Dan killed so then Wendy could move back to South Florida, wherever that was. Her parents at that point had bought a condo, I think, in Miami, and they were splitting their time there, but they wanted to see if that was a good place for them to settle down and retire. So anyway, I told you that there was a bump, and that bump started a ripple of effects, not effects, of things that were happening, which ended up in certain effects. So it was more of the recordings of Catherine and Charlie meeting in the restaurant. So they got that, and they got a pretty good recording of that. And they got the the audio between Donna and Charlie because of wiretaps. And Wendy was on there too, but not as much as the other two. And when they all talked, they talked in code, which I think is interesting about Wendy talking in code, because she says she wasn't anywhere near, she didn't have anything to do with this. And when they investigated her, she said, when they said, do you know anybody that would want to hurt Dan? The first thing she said was, well, my family probably hated him the most. So she has testified against her brother, and she has testified, well, as a state's witness, on her mother too. So it's a mess. But she got a deal. She got immunity for anything that she said against, well, let me change it. She got immunity for anything that she said while she was testifying against her brother and her mother. So it could not be used against her. That doesn't mean she can't still be charged, because there's probably plenty of evidence that they did not talk about in the trial, but they can use against her. So she did testify. Then the financial and phone pattern evidence is consistent with the coordination of the Dan murder. Defense themes, the defense came back and said that the alleged hitmen were extorting Charlie after the fact. Suggested payments were hush extortion money, not murder consideration. So they were saying in Charlie's trial, they were saying that he really didn't pay them to carry out the hit. They were going after him, and he just paid them because he didn't want the attention brought on him. Well, it didn't work. And his story that he told on the witness stand didn't work. He was guilty on all counts. So he got life for the murder, plus additional concurrent and consecutive terms on conspiracy and solicitation. So the court announced that it was life plus decades. He probably got similar to Catherine. All right, now it brings us to trial 5. I don't believe it's over either. We are in it right now in trial 5. So we already know that Donna, played a big part. She was bound, damned, and determined to get Wendy and the boys down near them. And so she's been charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy and solicitation, just like Charlie. The state's opening themes really came down to she was the driving force behind the plot of the custody relocation and the $100,000 payment theory. And they relied on the bump, the wiretaps, and Catherine's testimony, because Catherine did come out and testify to everything. She told it all. The defense theme was there's no direct evidence, blames others, including Charlie and the hit team, and posits extortion, challenges the credibility of cooperators and audio interpretations. Let's talk about this a minute. I will bring Robert back into it because he testified against his mom. It wasn't a lot, but it really showed how she was so domineering and so controlling of her children. And he said, I don't want any part of this. And so he left it. And for that, it was good insight to see what they were thinking. Okay. Then I think he kept some contact with Wendy. I just don't know how much, but I think there was a little bit. So what I can't, these people turned on each other. So Donna testifies against Charlie and blames it. No, yeah, in Charlie's trial. In Charlie's trial, then, Donna pushes the fact that somebody else did it, blamed Charlie. Can you imagine? And then the notable witnesses were Magbanoa, which she was coming from jail and she testified, and family adjacent witnesses, which were like friends of, I think there were some relatives and things like that. Harvey was sitting in the audience the whole time. He has never missed any time with Donna's trial. Donna was showing emotion and crying and just, and so the judge admonished her and told her he would not tolerate that. I think he made comment that he would remove her from the courtroom if she kept doing it. So she said she wouldn't, and God knows she's tried really hard to keep it in check. But anyway, I would love to tell you that the trial is ongoing, but it's not, and I'll get to that. So we talked about major witnesses, the two guys, the hitmen, and I don't think Sigfrido came back, but Magbanoa and Rivera and Sigfrido, and then we've got the guy who was the FBI agent who did the undercover and approached Donna. And what they were intending to do was to provoke phone calls between Charlie and Donna, which did happen, and Charlie and Catherine. Of course, you've got the wiretapped phone calls. And then you have FBI agent Sanford, and he came out and talked more about the communications between Charlie and Donna again. He also talked about one really creepy thing. He said that during the hit team's rental car trip to Tallahassee, a bullet reportedly pierced the Prius carpet and severed the gas line, a detail uncovered via Rivera later. That's interesting. That's interesting. So let me go back to where we are. I've told you that the biggest thing was the phone call. Really and truly, the biggest thing are the phone calls and the financial traces. And then, of course, Rivera turning. So it's interesting. And it's probably not over. We don't know if we're going to get Harvey. We don't know if they're going after Wendy. If they don't go after Wendy, I mean, they may just say enough. I don't know. I don't know. But what I will tell you is when they did arrest Wendy, guess where they arrested her? They arrested her at the Miami airport before she and Harvey were getting on a plane to Vietnam on a one-way ticket. And guess what else? Vietnam has no extradition. Yep. Okay. So that happened. There were a few more people that testified, but I don't think they were any big deal. I don't think they contributed in any major way to it. So what's happening right now, as I speak, what's happening right now is the defense and the prosecution rested. The jury has been given their instructions, and the closing arguments are underway. The prosecution started first, and I honestly, I don't know. Well, at this time, it's 1:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on September 4th. I don't know if they finished. I kind of doubt it. I would expect that the defense probably has it right now. Let me go check. Okay, I just checked, and it looks like the prosecution is finished. They are going to lunch, and then the defense starts. And this is going to go to the jury today, and then we will be on verdict watch. My prediction, life and plus decades, like the rest of them. I cannot see this being anything less because she's just as culpable as Charlie, and Charlie was convicted. Every single person up to this point has been convicted, and they used those phone calls, those recorded phone calls, to convict Charlie. Well, if it's between she and Charlie, then you're going to get her. So we will come back and I will listen to, oh, sorry again. I will come back and I will check in and let you know when the jury has gotten the case and we're on jury watch. And as soon as I know when the jury comes back, you will know. And if it doesn't take the defense very long, the jury could get it. And there's a really good chance that they could come back with a verdict today. Let me see how long it took for Charlie. Okay. So his trial was 2 years ago, and the jury deliberated only 3 hours. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Donna's doesn't come back faster. We may have a verdict today, but if we don't have one today, it has to be tomorrow. It just can't be anything different. So, like I said, I'll keep you updated. Sorry that we're at the end. Hopefully, I didn't confuse you. Hopefully, I gave you like the key points, and hopefully you can follow, and anything specific that I haven't gotten to, you'll be able to go and look it up. It was a very interesting trial, and I can't wait. And now that we're at the end, I have to go back and I have to look and see about the next trials coming up. So in the meantime, until later on, and look for a short on my YouTube channel, Witness Stand, update you as times go by. Okay? All right, until then, step off the witness stand. I'm Beverly, and I'm on the witness stand.